station of Fox Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are Ohio.
It is an absolutely glorious afternoon in the desert. We welcome you to Goodyear, Arizona, and our 2012 preseason debut from Goodyear Ballpark. The Cleveland Indians in town to take on the Cincinnati Reds. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh, Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us for this Cactus League ball game for the Reds. And, boy, you look at the offseason, Chris, so much excitement, so much enthusiasm going into the regular season, and for good reason. Some great moves made by Walt Jockett.
Well, they were busy, the baseball ops this winter, I can tell you that. They needed better pitching. They went out and got it. They went out and got a top-of-the-rotation starter in Matt Latos. They improved the bullpen, a proven closer in Ryan Madsen from the Philadelphia Phillies. Sean Marshall, big 6'6" left-hander from the Chicago Cubs. Those guys will help this bullpen immensely. And don't forget about Ryan Ludwig. He's going to be out in left field. He was a Reds killer when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals, and I certainly think he's got a lot left in his bat. And I'll tell you what, overall, you make those moves, there's no wonder why so many people are excited about this team this year.
And another reason to be excited, the guy we're going to see on the mound today already has been named the Reds' opening day starter for April the 5th against the Miami Marlins, and that's right-hander Johnny Cueto, coming off his best season in his very young career.
Well, the only thing left for Johnny Cueto to prove is that he can go out there and give you 34, 35 starts, pitch 200 innings, and do the kind of job he did when he's healthy. And last year he was among the leaders in earned run average. He just didn't pitch enough innings to qualify for the award. But I expect Johnny Cueto and Matt Latos at the very top of the rotation to kind of push each other, and we'll get the best out of both of them.
Man, it's going to be exciting. We got lots to talk about, lots to look forward to during the course of the broadcast today. Johnny Cueto gets the ball. The Reds and the Indians are ready to roll from Goodyear. For a more picture-perfect afternoon, as is generally the case this time of year out in the desert. And welcome to Goodyear Ballpark. A facility shared by both of these teams playing today, the Reds and the Cleveland Indians. And the Indians are managed, of course, by Manny Acta. We take a look at his starting lineup for today. Michael Brantley in center as Drubal Cabrera, the shortstop. Shin-Soo Choo out in right field. Boy, he's been a Reds killer during the regular season for a number of years. Carlos Santana, Travis Hafner, and Casey Kochman in the middle. Jason Kipnis, their regular second baseman. Lonnie Chisenhall is at third. And out in left field, Felix P.A. 26-year-old right-hander Johnny Cueto on the mound, and already has been announced as the opening day starter for the first time this year.
Yeah, really all Johnny Cueto has to do is stay healthy here between now and the end of spring training, and he will toe the rubber there, the very opening lid lifter of the season. So Johnny Cueto has been kind of gearing up for this. What we see today, though, Tom, interestingly enough, and it's a treat for fans watching, is that we'll see the A team from both of these ball clubs going at it here early in spring training. They may only play half the game, but it's nice to see their A team out there.
Cueto spins, delivers a fastball inside, and this one is underway. At age 25, Johnny, through the end of last year, had already racked up 41 career victories and well over 500 strikeouts in his first really 3.5 years when you mix in the injuries. In the history of the franchise, the oldest in all of baseball, of pitchers age 25 or younger, he ranks 13th in wins behind guys like Mario Soto, among others. But Cueto, it looks like, Chris, is just starting to get his career on quite a roll.
Well, you know, Tom, what I've seen from Johnny Cueto the last couple of years is that he's not out every pitch trying to overthrow the ball. He's learned the art of pitching. He's a much smarter kid than I think a lot of people give him credit as far as his pitching acumen anyway, the ability to change speeds. He came through the organization, always had a good changeup. But now he's used that sinking fastball better, and I think the kid is really ready to have a great year.
That one blistered up the right field line. Extra bases for Brantley. In fact, it's going to be a 3-base hit to begin the ball game.
You got to say one thing about these Indians. The Reds have played them now, including today, 3 games in a row to start the catching season. And Michael Brantley has blistered the ball each and every time he comes to the plate early in the ball game. This one no different. Gets a fastball inside, unjams Cueto down the line, and just like that, the Indians are knocking on the door.
All right, a runner at third with nobody out as Drubal Cabrera, the batter. Well, the opening of the telecast, we showed you Cueto's ERA last year at 2.31 because of the injuries to begin the year and the injuries to end the year. He did not qualify for the ERA title. We had his numbers slotted in there, Chris, if he would have qualified, and it would have been good enough for only second to Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So when you take that, that's a very important stat, obviously, earned run average. But if you take that and you rate the pitchers that he is in that top list with, guys like Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee and Clayton Kershaw and Johnny Cueto, I mean, that is pretty tough. That's pretty great company right there.
Jam shot roller to Giannis. She will throw out Cabrera, but scoring after the triple is Brantley. 2 batters into the game. The Indians lead 1-0.
Batting third, right field, 17, Shin-Soo.
Take a look at the Reds on defense outside of the shortstop position. It's pretty much the group that we expect to see on opening day. Ludwig, Stubbs, and Bruce in the outfield. Roland, Giannis, Phillips, and Votto third to first. With a battery of Cueto and the rookie Devin Mesoraco. We saw the final month of last year. You know, that's the one thing, Chris, you talk so much, and we're going to today, about the starting rotation, about the bullpen, all the potential, front end of the game, back end of the game. But working with a rookie catcher, how big a deal is that?
It's a big deal. It really is. And it'll take a little while for Devin Mesoraco to kind of get his feet planted out there. But fortunately, he's got Ryan Hannigan, who in my mind is one of the smartest catchers in all of baseball, to work with him. It's not like Devin Mesoraco has been awarded the starting job and now Hannigan is the backup. I think that they're going to share their duty. In fact, Dusty Baker has been very reluctant to tell anybody how much playing time each of those guys is going to get. And that will be determined, I think, by how well Mesoraco handles the pitching staff here this spring.
Two has gone on strikes, and there are 2 away in the inning.
Good looking breaking ball right there. Johnny Cueto's got really 4 or 5 pitches. He throws a fastball, a 4-seamer, and a 2-seamer. He's got a curveball and a slider. This looks like the curveball to me. And it just goes straight down. That's a good release point. When you have that kind of drop on the ball, it changes planes, and that's the one you want. And he'll also throw a very good changeup and a cutter. And he told me before the ball game today that he's going to use all of them. He's going out there to not just go fastball, changeup, but he's going to use his whole repertoire to try to get everything polished up.
You know, one of the things I am looking most forward to this season as they pertain to our coverage of Reds baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio, you went down to the Dominican Republic.
I did.
And spent a number of days with Johnny Cueto. In fact, you went to his mother's birthday party down in the Dominican, and it was quite a trip. I mean, you came back, and I looked at all the pictures, but I know you had a great experience down there.
We did. I had a great time down there. Johnny, you know what? He signed a big contract. He's the same old Johnny Cueto to everybody down in his neighborhood, and that's what you really like to see.
Reds are coming up. Indians jump in front 1-0. Manager of the Cincinnati Reds, and I think he'd be the first to tell you on paper this is the most talented team he has managed in Cincinnati. His lineup today has Brandon Phillips. He's at second base, followed by Paul Janisch and Joey Votto. Scott Rowland back off shoulder surgery at third. Jay Bruce in right, Ryan Ludwig in left. Stubbs, Mesoraco, and Ryan Hannigan, the final 3. And on the mound, grew up in Beaver Creek, went to Beaver Creek High School up around the Dayton area. Pitched collegiately at Wright State University, came over in a trade from Boston, and he's already been named their opening day starter this year, Justin Masterson.
That's pretty impressive, really, for Justin Masterson. Has come a long way, was a reliever when he came over from Boston. He's one of these right-handers that has kind of a low arm angle, lots of movement on his fastball, freezes right-handed hitters with the breaking ball. He'll be joined in the rotation with Ubaldo Jimenez, Fausto Carmona. They went out and they got Derek Lowe and Josh Tomlin to round out the top 5.
On the ground to the second baseman Kitness, and Phillips thrown out, 1 away. I mean, Masterson didn't have a good year last year. He had a great year last year. He won 12 games on a team that started hot and then limped to the finish line. They wound up winning 80, losing 82, but he had a 3.21 ERA. That was 12th best among all American League pitchers. We were talking yesterday over on the radio side. You look at 3 spring trainings in a row for this young man, Paul Janisch. 2 years ago, he thought he was going to be the starter. The Reds signed Orlando Cabrera. Last year, he went into spring training expecting to be the regular shortstop, and the Reds late again brought in a veteran in Edgar Renteria. And now this year, Chris, he is scrambling and trying everything he can just to make the team.
You know, it just goes to show you, Tom, in the major leagues, you only have a short shelf life of the time when you are a prospect to the point where you get an opportunity to seize that and make yourself an everyday player, or the kind of a player that fits as a piece on your ball club. And now is the time. or has been the time for Paul Janisch. And the only thing that's kept him back is certainly not his defense or his arm, but it's him being able to hit major league pitching.
Ow!
You know, he's now being pushed by Zach Cozart. And except for those two, the Reds really don't have much else at the shortstop, everyday shortstop position at the high part of the minor league. So, you know, Janisch knows what's ahead of him this spring. He's got to really get it together.
2-2 to Janisch. And the count is full. He led the team in starts at the shortstop position last year, 103 of them. Games total, 80 starts. And he hit just .214. Votto waiting. And Janisch draws a one-out walk. Cleveland defensively, they'll go with Brantley in center. They're going to start the year again without Grady Sizemore. He's hurt again. PA and Chu on the corners. Chisenhall, Kochman at third and first. Cabrera and Kipnis up the middle. Masterson and Santana the battery. Now Joey Votto. One gets away from Santana, and easily advancing 90 feet is Janisch. So the Reds have a tying run now in scoring position. Of course, Votto 2 years ago, the National League's most valuable player, had played in a division that without a doubt, among all the divisions in either league of Major League Baseball, was loaded with the most talent among first basemen. Albert Pujols and Prince Fielder, just to name a couple inside the division, to go along with Votto. Well, now all of a sudden, as many of you already know, Pujols gone, Fielder gone.
So by comparison, it looks good for Joey Votto, but it's not going to be any easier for Votto unless the guys behind him in the lineup swing the bat well. Because if they don't, why would you even pitch to Joey Votto? He went through his first season last year after winning the MVP the year before of what it was like to be an MVP and what pitchers do to you the following year, which is they don't come near you unless they have to. That's why you saw a good shot of Scott Rowland. He's as important in this lineup as his Votto.
Roller to the right side, and Kipnis will throw out Joey. Janisch advances to third. There are two out in the inning, and here comes the aforementioned Scott Rowland. We're going to be getting into some of the keys to 2012 as we move along during the game today. But without a doubt, one of the most important ingredients this year is having Rowland healthy again. Ever since he came over from Toronto, when he's in the lineup, the Reds win, and they win a ton. When he's not, they don't. Strike one. Up the middle into center field. And Rowland drives in the game-tying run with a two-out single into center field. That's what you want to see when you start playing them for keeps.
Well, you certainly do. I mean, Scott is always a guy that's going to put the bat on the ball, and I still think that he's recovering a little bit from the shoulder surgery that he had last year. He'll need this spring training to get strong, get in the swing of things, but I will tell you that this lineup is completely different with Rowland healthy and in it than when he's sitting on the bench or on the disabled list.
Jay Bruce looks at ball one.
And looks completely different.
Mm-hmm.
How about the new trim, slim Jay Bruce?
Lost over 15 pounds. 32 home runs, 97 runs batted in a season ago. Jay went to his first All-Star game. Just 25 years old.
I was happy to see him show up in camp and really look like he's in better shape. You know, all he did was really change his diet. He just doesn't eat a lot of, greasy, fatty, fast food anymore. Eats good stuff, lost the weight, feels strong.
Stung into right field right there, and on the second base goes Rowland.
Well, a nice smooth swing. You know, Bruce is one of the other guys who is so important because if you look at the Reds roster, or at least their starting lineup, you'll see that they're very right-handed overall. And the two lefties you've got in here are Joey Votto and Jay Bruce. So if Bruce doesn't produce, why would anybody pitch to Votto? So that's why it's important now for Jay Bruce to take another step. He had a big step last year, drove in over 90. Now he takes one more step again beyond that, and he starts becoming one of those outfielders that you talk about as the elite outfielders in the league.
Strike one to Ryan Ludwig. He was a late addition to this Reds roster. Was out looking for a job. Had spent, of course, so many outstanding years with St. Louis in the middle part of the last decade, and then last year began the year in San Diego, finished up in Pittsburgh. He knocked in 75, hit 13 home runs, but the batting average dropped way down, as did a number of other categories. And question is, Chris, can he get back to the player he once was this year?
Well, he'll be the first to tell you that he completely changed his swing because of playing in Petco Park in San Diego, one of the biggest ballparks out there. He just couldn't hit the ball the way he wanted to and have it carry for anything.
Let's tie it up on a 2-out single by Rowland. End of one, a 1-1 game. Reds and Indians, a 1-1 game at the end of one. From Goodyear, Arizona, Johnny Cueto making his spring training debut here in 2012. Gave up a leadoff triple, retired the next three, but one of the outs, a ground out by Asdrubal Carrera, brought in the game's first run. Broken bat roller by Travis Hafner. One out. Pleasure to be joined by our main man. He is everywhere. He is Mr. CincinnatiUSA.com, and that, of course, is one of the co-hosts of Reds Live, the pregame show version and the postgame show. Welcome back another year, Jim Day.
How we doing, boys?
How many years is this for you now?
Oh, man. Went back to Cincinnati in 2000, but I didn't start doing the pregame show until a couple years later, so I guess 9th season maybe.
Nice.
Not counting them because, you know, life's good.
You're looking good. You came to spring training in shape, ready to go, didn't you?
I don't know about that. Down a little bit, but we'll be working on it. Hopefully by the end of the month we'll be down some more.
Now, you this year, you know, a lot of times in the past, for fans that have been asking about this, you know, generally on Fox Sports Ohio, we'll do 2 or 3 games during spring training. But obviously with a time difference, game starting at 3 o'clock back on the home front, most of the folks out there working, kids in school, getting into practice, all that kind of thing. The powers that be, including you, Jim Day, decided, you know what, maybe there's a different and better way to do it. And that is to follow this team and give the folks back at home an idea of what is going on a daily basis. So that's going to be cranking up next week.
Yeah, it is. We're really excited about we've expanded our March to opening day big time. A week from tonight, it'll be Reds Live Spring Training 2012. It'll be every weeknight, a half-hour nightly show at 6:30 on Fox Sports Ohio, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be 3 weeks of programming, and you're going to get a lot more spring training information than you have in the past.
And as I understand it, Chris, you're going to be a big part of the show as well as one of the primary hosts of the show. It's not going to be about, hey, what do the Reds do today in their spring training game? It's going to be some feature stuff in there, some information on some of the young players in there, right?
But it will be current. I mean, you're going to find out what went on either the day before or that morning here in Arizona. And so it's not going to just be all timeless features. I mean, we're going to be up to the moment as to what is going on as far as the guys who are, if there's an injury or something like that, you're going to be the first to hear about it. And the beauty of it is it's I've heard it called appointment TV, where you know that during the regular season at 6:30, you turn on the TV and there are the Reds in their pregame show. We got the same thing going for you here in the spring.
Wow. Appointment TV.
Yeah. I wish
Is that
I
like a nouveau term? I mean, you're pretty with the hip current crowd.
I just know a good line when I steal it. That's all.
He had to,
and that's one of them.
Check with the promo department on that. He didn't get that himself.
Here's Jason Kipnis.
These guys know me too well. Not fair.
Well, I tell you, I know we're all very, very excited about Reds Live, the spring training version, every night, starting this coming Monday night at 6:30. And it's going to be you, Jeff Pecoro, and Chris Welsh, correct?
And some we'll sprinkle in some other people along the way. Like to see the Cowboy on there. We'll try to get your father on there.
Why would you do that?
Well, just add a little southern twang to the show.
They already followed your dad. Out there, they had a golf tournament here last week, and they followed him around the golf course a little bit.
They did?
Oh, yeah. They got some fine shots and some memorable audio.
We have to edit it,
You didn't have to tell me that, all right? The one thing that never ceases to amaze me, you guys forget. I've been around him 48 years, okay? You guys feel like you've been around him, 20. Chris has been around him 25 or 30. I've got another 20 almost beyond that.
That's true. And you've been at the other end of that, the brunt of that.
Frequently. In the air, down the left field line by Kipnis. They really like this young man. Falls off the wall, and Ludwig will throw it into third. A 2-out double for Kipnis.
Tom, these guys are much looser in spring training, as you know. We're also going to try to bring you a lot of that. We're going to have some fun with it. In our first meetings, we sat down and of course, you want to give the nuts and bolts of baseball, and everyone wants to know what's going on with the team and the position battles, et cetera. We're going to give you all that. We're also going to have some fun along the way.
I can't wait to see it, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way that have heard about the show. Runner at second, 2 men out, and here's Lonnie Chisenhall before a visit to the mound by Devin Mesoraco.
And a lot of Reds fans, quite simply, don't know a lot about Sean Marshall other than him pitching against the Cincinnati Reds, or Ryan Madsen, or some of the new guys, Ryan Ludwig, about it's his dream come true to play for the Reds. And we're going to get you up close and personal with a lot of those new guys, especially early on in the shows.
Then you would be able to back this up. My dad told a story when we were doing the game on radio yesterday that Kent Dreamweaver, of course, the producer of Reds Live during the regular season, made the comment that through all his years in television, and he figures over 600 interviews he's been a part of, he said nobody has ever been better than Sean Marshall.
Yeah. He compared him to Sean Casey as far as a person off the field, that type of personality and that cooperative of a player. And when you compare anyone to Sean Casey in that capacity, that is saying a ton.
You're right. And Chris, you've already done a tech talk with Sean Marshall.
I take the opportunity down here to grab these guys before I bother them during the regular season to do these tech talks. And we did Sean Marshall. We spent about a half an hour with him. You talk about a guy that really understands the pitching delivery, what he can do, what he needs to do. I mean, and he broke it down as well as anybody. I'll tell you, I can see why he would give a regular, good, straight interview as well.
Got out a play by Chisenhall. Of course, Marshall, as we talked about from the very beginning of the game, one of 4 big additions to this Reds team. Marshall, you look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Dusty Baker has a guy now that really over the last 2 years has been the premier left-handed setup man in the entire National League. And you know what? Go no further than Jay Bruce and Joey Votto and ask them what it's like to face Sean Marshall. Because the Reds saw him aplenty with the Cubs. 1-2 pitch. Just missed. Cueto trying to put the second inning to bed. A runner at second base with 2 men out, and there's a balk.
Did he start and stop? Yep, that's what it looked like you do. You can't even move your upper body at all and then stop. You have to step off the mound first.
Phillips to his right will get there, and the inning is over. A 2-out double. The man left at third. The Reds will bat in the bottom of the second inning. Jim Day, thank you, my man.
You got it. We'll see you next Monday night, 6:30.
Cheer on the Reds when they battle the Miami Marlins on opening night, April the 7th, presented by Cincinnati Bell. Now, of course, opening day is on April the 5th, but it's been a great promotion, the first night game of the year. The first 20,000 fans on opening night get a team calendar thanks to Kroger. Have a live performance by the Rusty Griswolds. You'll meet Reds players in the fan zone. And on a rare Saturday night, we have post-game fireworks presented by Tri-Elf. Visit Reds.com or stop in select Kroger locations for tickets. That is always a great night.
It is.
They just started that a couple of years ago. One game, Drew Stubbs to be followed by Devin Mesoraco and then Ryan Hannigan. Stubbs has certainly gotten a lot of advice from anybody and everybody on how to get his career back on track for this upcoming season. He led the major leagues in strikeouts last year. Everybody knows that. But still so many tools this young man has been blessed with, and the Reds are hoping he can maximize all of them here in 2012. And that'll go a long way in helping him to draw a few more walks.
Well, you're not kidding about that. I mean, really, for Drew Stubbs, it's all about on-base percentage. He has power when he centers up the ball. He hits it as far as anyone. But when you have more than 200 strikeouts, I mean, you're swinging and missing an awful lot, and you're getting advice on, learn how to bunt, cut your swing down, take the ball the other way. And you almost hope that Drew Stubbs is not reading the papers or listening to the talk shows, just trying to concentrate on what his batting coaches are trying to tell him. And I think his approach has to shorten up, not just his swing, but everything involved, because he's got a ton of talent in that body.
Well, there is very little doubt that if Stubbs were to improve that on-base percentage, that he would be a regular among the league leaders in stolen bases. And I'm not talking about those guys whose first number starts with a 3. If he gets on base more, that stolen base total, the first number could start with a 5, a 6, or even a 7. He's that good of a base stealer.
And he does not have to hit at the top of the lineup to get there. He can be right down where he is right now today, batting 7th.
There he goes, and a ground ball down to third. Stubbs will advance, and Mesoraco thrown out, one away. And it appears as though that leadoff experiment with Stubbs, not going to call it dead in the water, but at least going into the year, that job now belongs to Brandon Phillips.
Well, Brandon Phillips really embraced it last year. You could just tell kind of a different energy that he had when he got moved to the leadoff spot. He went to Dusty Baker and said, hey, how about putting me there? I'll help the ball club. And I'm anxious to see what he can do in a full season at the top of the order.
Runner at second. The DH today is Ryan Hannigan. And there's a little bleeder that'll fall in a base hit. Stubbs had to make sure that ball wasn't caught by the second baseman. So rightly went back to the bag, so he only advances 90 feet.
That's Ryan Hannigan right there, though. A guy that comes up, he knows the situation. Have the DH working today, so no pitcher behind him. And he's looking for a first pitch fastball, trying to drive in Drew Stubbs, puts the bat on the ball. I think there's a guy that's kind of challenged too this year, Ryan Hannigan. I'm not so sure that he's really happy with the fact that, that they're willing or maybe considering giving the job to Devin Mesoraco. He's like, hey, I'm a big league player too. I've got a 2-year deal. I'm going to show you that I can play every day. He kind of played in the shadow of Ramon Hernandez for a couple of years. Hernandez gave the Reds a little more offense, but I'm not sure if there's anybody in the league other than Yadier Molina who handles the pitching staff better than Ryan Hannigan.
And the numbers back that up. I mean, know, the ER, and a lot of times that can be, 3 or 4 bad games over the course of a very long year, depending on who's catching on a particular day. But for 2 years in a row now, his numbers were very good as far as the Reds pitcher's ERA was concerned. You buy much into that stat at all?
To a certain extent. A lot of times it's who you're catching. If you're catching the 4 and 5 guys in the rotation, good luck on getting your ERA down. But I think if you talk to pitchers, I think that's a better way to do it. It's hard to measure, but if you talk to pitchers, whoever thrown to Hannigan, I read a great article, May was in the paper recently about what Johnny Bench said. He said, you want your pitcher not to overthink out there. You want to be able to take control of the ball game, know the scouting report, know what your pitcher does best, and keep him focused on that and not let him get too distracted. And Hannigan does that very well. He got the job in the big leagues really by being Bronson Arroyo's private catcher.
1-2 on Brandon.
So it's nice to know that a veteran pitcher like Arroyo, who had thrown 1,000 innings before he ever threw to Ryan Hannigan, would now say, all right, I like this guy so much, I want him back here every 5th day.
Stubbs a runner at third, Hannigan at first, 1 out, 1-1 game. And that's off the inside corner, and the count even at 2-2 on Brandon Phillips. Seemingly every day the question comes up, whether it be on talk radio, whether it be out here in Arizona, about the future as a Red beyond this year for Brandon Phillips. And there's a base hit that'll give the Reds their first lead of the game.
Good approach in this at bat for Brandon Phillips. Cuts his swing down a little bit right there, picks up a run batted in with 1 out, and you just want to see him do more of that. He's another guy I'd like to see to cut the strikeouts down. I got the impression that when Brandon was in the number 4 slot, he tried to be a number 4 hitter. His swing got big. He was trying to hit home runs. He's so talented and so much more versatile when you put him in a different spot in the lineup, especially at the top spot.
Paul Janisch walked and scored in the first inning and takes high with 2 on and 1 out. Reds have a 2-1 lead here in the second. Two and 0. So now Carlos Santana wants to come out and talk to Justin Masterson. I've always wondered, Chris, and you've been on both ends. When you're a young man like Masterson who, really a spring training ago was trying to prove himself to the Indians, You have a really good year. You come back the next spring. Very early on, you're named the opening day starter. Is the mindset different for a guy in just 1 year's time?
Well, I think if you're trying to make the ball club or make the rotation and you go out there and you get beat up a couple of times in a row, now you're wondering what you have to do. If you're a veteran and you have a contract or you've been given a starting job and the confidence of your manager, and you get beat up a little bit or you have one bad outing, you know, it may be because you're working on certain things. It could be that Masterson's working on his changeup, you know, trying to get things done. But I think the bottom line is no matter who you are, you never want to be embarrassed. You don't want to go out there and get knocked all over the ballpark and have people start to wonder what's wrong with them.
3-1 to Giannis. And there's ball 4, comes all the way to the screen, and the Reds are going to have him loaded for Joey Votto.
Yeah, this is the first outing for Masterson. I'm not sure if he pitched in a squad game or not before coming out here today. He looks like he's tired already. He's not finishing like he normally does, but he's on his game. He really finishes, gets great extension with his arm. He's got great movement on his fastball, really eats up right-handers with a little tailing fastball in on the hands. And he's just kind of flying open and kind of a little lazy arm right now.
Well, it should be noted Masterson had shoulder surgery on his non-throwing left shoulder during the offseason. Now, you may say, well, big deal. Well, you know, and all of a sudden, Chris, and you had off-season shoulder surgery this year. You're walking around in a sling. I don't know how much working out you're really able to do for a pretty decent amount of time. And I wonder how much throwing you're really able to do.
You're right, because even though you throw with one arm, it takes the other arm to line yourself up, to get yourself ready. You have to do a lot of core work and do some upper body work. And if he had his left shoulder operated on, I mean, no matter what, shoulder surgery is not easy to recover from. You are laid up for a while with a sling. You don't move at all. And I'm sure that's probably set him back a little bit.
You were the guy that had shoulder surgery and then you got in a car wreck, right? And then you had to get it done again.
Yeah.
That's not a good combination.
It's all good now.
Glad you're all right.
I'm up to lifting 12 ounces already.
Not a boy. You got to build up. There's ball 1 outside of Joey Votto.
Take a pitch, man.
Hannigan, Phillips, Giannis aboard for Votto. Bounced out to second, is only at bat, and takes low 2-0. And look out on this next one. Votto looking for something to hammer 2-0. Pitcher's pitch there.
It really is. And, you know, Votto, obviously, that pitch right on the inside black, looking for something away, probably trying to drive the ball left center field.
Started 2, couldn't pull the trigger. Fastball on the outer edge, and that'll even the count. Just fought it off into left field. Wow. That'll bring in 2. That is a good big league hitter right there.
Yeah, that's Joey Votto in a nutshell for you. He got 2-0. He didn't get either pitch that he really wanted and was looking for. So now the count's 2-2, and now he's getting a pitcher situation. This is a good pitch by Justin Masterson. Look at that sinker down and in off the plate. Votto knows he's got to protect the plate, and there aren't many hitters in the league that can bring their hands in and still get the barrel on the ball the way he does.
Well, the first start of the spring for Masterson is a short one. Sharing a laugh with Joey Votto after the location of that last pitch and then what happened after it got near the plate. So we're going to take a timeout. Reds lead 4-1, still batting in a 3-run second inning. Back to Goodyear in a moment. Reds in front 4-1, batting here in the last of the second inning from Goodyear, Arizona. Our Cactus League opener here on Fox Sports Ohio. Taking over for Justin Masterson is young right-hander Cody Allen. Drafted in the 23rd round just 1 year ago. Boy, you talk about moving and moving quickly. His first year in professional baseball last year, he went up 4 different levels in their minor league system. That's getting a guy in and getting him rolling.
He's got to be able to throw strikes to do that.
Speaking of rolling here, Scotty had an RBI 2-out single in the first inning. You know, we brought up earlier, the Reds going back to when they made the trade to get Rolen on the 1st of August in 2008. They won 27 of their final 40 games after the trade. The following year in 09, 23 games over 500 with Rolen in the lineup. As easily stealing third as Giannis. Of course, last year, after the big 2010 season, Rolen missed a lot of time, but the bottom line is simply this, Chris. When he plays, they've won 57% of their games.
Well, last year was such a bad year for Rolen, injury-wise. The Reds missed him. He only had 5 home runs. Todd Frazier had more home runs than Scott Rolen last year. So, and I'm not taking anything away from Todd, but Rolen is the guy you need out there to play the majority of the time at third base. Gives you leadership in the clubhouse. He gives you leadership on the field. And when you're on the DL, you just can't lead.
2-1 the count on Rolen. They're on the corners with only 1 out. 3-1.
Kid throws hard.
Well, you talked about throwing the ball over the plate. In his first year in pro baseball last year, in 54 innings, he walked 14 batters and struck out a whopping 75 in those 54 innings. 3-2 to Rolen.
He's not afraid to use the fastball. Nice simple delivery, rears back and just kind of cuts it loose.
Reds and Indians playing 3 games in a row to begin Cactus League play. They'll play 3 more times between now and the end. Fought off and out of play, still 3-2 to Rolen. And of course, the Reds will have their regular Ohio Cup series with Cleveland. Interleague play during the regular season, 3 in Cincinnati, 3 up north. Votto running and popped up into foul territory for out number 2. Giannis, your runner at third base. Joey Votto at first. Reds leading 4-1. We're in the bottom of the second inning. And now Jay Bruce, who's single to right his first time up. Bruce will tell you he wants to become a far more consistent player. And certainly anybody who watched the Reds, followed the Reds last year, well aware that while Bruce knocked in nearly 100, a huge chunk of that number came in about a 6 or 7 week stretch when basically you couldn't get him out. We remember it started, Chris, when the Reds were in Philadelphia and he was in the middle of that run. We had that 19-inning game and he had those big base hits and home runs late in the game, one of them against Ryan Madson. And then basically went a little over a month and a half where he was the best player in Major League Baseball. He won a Player of the Month award in the National League. But if he finds more of that consistency, and instead of going from 35 RBIs in a month to 15, as that one is blasted into left center. And this will bring in 2 more. Giannis to the plate, Votto behind him. And the Reds have made it a 5-run second inning.
Well, in 2 at-bats, Jay Bruce has put 2 very good swings on the ball, different swings. First one a line drive to right, this one a little inside out. He was late on the first fastball that he saw, but he makes the adjustment, gets his foot down, gets his bat through the zone, and man, he's got some kind of power. And that's what every young player is looking for, though. Not power, but consistency, Tom. The coaches are looking for it out of him. And a lot of that is a mental adjustment, that when you get into a slump, you can't let the slump be an overriding theme when you come to the plate every time. When am I going to get my next hit? You can only control that particular pitch, your swing on that pitch, or your approach in that at-bat. And I think that's just part of the maturation process for a young player like Jay Bruce.
I brought up earlier about Bruce being 25. He's not going to be 25 until the season begins.
Well, he works so hard on his defense, too. I mean, he's already one of the best, if not the best, right fielder in the league. And he'll only get more agile and better as he's lost weight, got a little faster. One of the many homegrown Reds that they have in the starting lineup. That's an impressive thing the Reds scouting department and development departments over the years have been able to do.
Gotten so much better after, dormant draft after draft after draft. And Chris, is this your 20th year now broadcasting Reds games? And I think it's safe to say for probably about the first, maybe 12 or 13 years of that run, outside of a player here, player there, maybe draft here, draft there, the difference between the last 6 or 7 drafts?
Well, I think the commitment to draft and amateur scouting and development in the organization has never been bigger.
Ludwig chase one up. 9 men back, 5 of them score. We go to the 3rd. Reds leading big, thanks to the big guys. Phillips, Votto, Bruce. 6-1 Cincinnati. Couple of hits, couple of RBIs with that double in the bottom of the second inning. A 5-run second inning, and the Reds with a 6-1 lead. And the afternoon is over for starter Johnny Cueto. Johnny goes the front 2 innings of the game today, allowed the leadoff triple. A ground out knocked in Cleveland's only run. Only one other batter reached, and that was a 2-out double by Kipnis in the Cleveland scoreless second inning. So here's another guy trying to resurrect his career. A one-time very good, solid left-hander in the Colorado Rockies rotation. Had a very serious arm injury. Came all the way back, put together a full year. Not the kind of statistical year he wanted in Kansas City, but a healthy year. is Jeff Francis.
Well, he threw 180 innings for the Royals last year, 31 starts overall. That's having shoulder surgery. Nowadays, when you have Tommy John surgery, it's almost a cinch that if you do the rehab right, you're going to come back and pitch again. The shoulder surgery, there's no guarantee. He's worked very hard after having that surgery back in 2009 to come back and get himself healthy enough. In fact, if you talk to baseball people around, we talk to them all the time, Tom, and they look at their minor league roster or the invitee list on minor league contracts, and they look and say, you got Jeff Francis? That's amazing. Because he's the guy that is a dark horse in the minds of a lot of guys who are following this ball club, thinking he's the one guy that can make a difference. If somebody falters down at the bottom of the rotation and you're looking for a veteran, Francis will be there, and he can give you a lot of good games. Won 17 games about 5 years ago with Colorado. Won at least 13 two other times for the Rockies.
This will be the second out of the inning. Standing by down in the Reds dugout, and the guy we expect to hear plenty of noise from this season is Matt Latos. Here's Jim Day.
Tom, thank you very much. He is one of the newest Cincinnati Reds, and you've been asked this question 1,000 times. But it's our first broadcast back to Cincinnati. As one of your boys, Deanna Navarro, is messing with you behind you. But how excited are you to be a part of this club?
I'm extremely excited. With a lot of talent on this ball club, and just looking to jump in the rotation. A lot of proven guys that have done a lot with this ball club, and just bring a playoff push and hopefully a World Series.
New experience for you fitting into a new club. Reds have had a pretty good clubhouse. You fitting in?
Yeah. For the most part, just getting to know the new guys and getting to know personalities and who's who, and then what everybody's all about.
Quick inning for the Reds. We'll be back with more after this, as Cincinnati Reds baseball continues on the home of the Reds, Fox Sports Ohio.
Cavaliers host the Utah Jazz at Quicken Loans Arena. Jeff Phelps, Campy Russell have all your pregame information on Cavaliers Live at 6:30. Then join Fred McLeod and former Notre Dame star Austin Carr for the tip at 7. Cavs and Jazz tonight here on Fox Sports Ohio. Well, what a great player he was. Cazzie Russell was a great player. If I remember right, he was a University of Michigan guy. Cazzie Russell. Well, now taking over on the mound, he's 39 years old, and he has had one outstanding major league career. Bounced around a lot. He's filled a lot of roles. Setup man, closer, starter. Right-hander Derek Lowe coming off really his worst season in a long time. His final year after 3 years in Atlanta.
Well, Atlanta is just so chock full of young pitching that they decided to move Derek Lowe. And, Lowe wants to hang around a little bit. At one time, Lowe had one of the best sinking fastballs in all of baseball.
Well, you can just stick it in your pocket there. No chance to throw out Stubb.
Well, Chisenhall down at third base was almost challenging Stubbs to lay one down. And maybe he thinks that, hey, in spring training, he's not going to play a bunt down. But a lot of times last year, Drew Stubbs was looking for third baseman, and here he is playing even with the bag a couple of steps in, and he's not going to take the chance. This time, Chisenhall is about 4 steps behind third, giving him plenty of green area over there and thinking, hey, you're not going to throw me out. All I've got to do is get it down in fair territory. Of course, that will only add fuel to the fire for those who say, why doesn't he do that once or twice a game?
Well, you brought up, I mean, there's probably, 25, 30 scouts from other teams that are sitting here watching this game today, and you can pretty much take it to the bank that they made the notation that Stubbs put down a nice bunt, and you better keep an eye on it.
Well, more importantly than that, yes, they put down a nice bunt. They probably got him clocked to first base. And I wish we had a watch on him, Tom, because the guy can flat out pick him up and put him down.
He only had 4 bunt hits all of last year. So it's only natural. I mean, I think sometimes that the clubs, not just the Reds, but other teams, they might get defensive when you bring up the topic of Stubbs and why doesn't he bunt more. There's a high tapper down to third. Good play by Chisenhall. They get the out, and on the exchange, the ball comes loose. But just to finish that thought, Chris, I mean, I think it's a valid question and a valid point that a guy who runs as well as Drew does, but I don't think it's out of the realm of reality to expect that he could have more than 4 bunt hits a year.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think a lot of times he'll take a look at the defense and say this is a good time for a bunt or not a good time for a bunt. But I think more important than that is Drew Stubbs and his awareness of how he should approach the plate. I'm not a big proponent of him going up there and bunting 3 times a game. I am a proponent of him cutting down his approach and his whole swing so that he uses the field and really concentrates on making some contact.
Chisenhall, that's a couple of real nice plays, and Kipnis just can't find a grip on it down there. That's 2 very nice plays back-to-back by Lonnie Chisenhall, the third baseman.
Well, Derek Lowe at his best. When you're playing third base and Derek Lowe's on the mound, get on the balls of your feet because you're going to have some ground balls hit to you down there. 2 in a row now to Chisenhall, and he makes a nice backup play. Infield here that, it doesn't rain much in Arizona. The infields tend to get very hard, a little overspin on the ball, and you've got to be able to back up and make those plays down here.
Third time in the game already for Brandon Phillips, the Reds leadoff man. 1 out of 2, knocked in a run with a single in the 5-run second inning. Ball 1. Lowe, one of those guys who, we mentioned, has done it all in his major league career. In fact, he's one of only 3 pitchers in the history of the game that has won over 160 games, saved 80 or more games in a career. The other 2 are on their way to the Hall of Fame, John Smoltz and Dennis Eckersley. Now, Derek Lowe's not going to the Hall of Fame, but to be in that kind of company and have that kind of versatility as both a starter and a reliever, it's been a good run for him. And a sharp inning there for Lowe. He allows a bunt hit, but that's it. We played 3. The Reds lead 6-1. Goodyear, Arizona. Jim Day has been with us already, and for the first time, let's check in and say hello to Jeff Piccolo. Pick, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thank you very much. I'm here with Bronson Arroyo, one of the Reds' starting pitchers. And Bronson, obviously, last year, tough year. Even in spring training for you, kind of started there and started off very slow. This offseason, kind of change in regimen for you. What have you been doing differently than you've been doing in the past?
Just, you know, I had to relinquish my workout control over the last 16 years. Basically, been working out with my father, try to give somebody else an opportunity to kind of bring some new things into me and bring some flexibility back, try to get my back a little bit healthier than it's been in the last 10 years. And, you know, I'm hoping that will translate into some velocity on the mound. You know, throwing 85 to 88 like I was last year. I mean, obviously being sick didn't help, but I felt like it was starting to go even the year before when I went 17 and 10 in 2010. So we'll see if it, you know, Wednesday is the first time I'll be out there. We'll get to see, you know, if something's coming out of my hand a little bit better.
So not only strength, but nutrition as well. You're telling me you're trying to gain at least a pound. Is it a week or a month?
Yeah, a pound a week out here, hopefully. I came in at like 186, which is a little light for me, but definitely stronger from head to toe than I've been in a long time and healthier. You know, flexibility's there that hasn't been in a long time, kind of in my core and in my hips and stuff. So, you know, we'll see if it translates on the field. I think it will, but you never really know.
Well, you just said 16 years of doing this, and you're kind of the gray beard of this pitching staff now, especially with the new additions coming in, Matt Latos and Ryan Matson and Sean Marshall. How do you think that bolsters the staff?
You know, those pieces of the puzzle, I think, fit perfect here. I mean, we've gotten guys in years past that were good ball players, but didn't necessarily fit this ball club as good as these guys do. You know, coming in, we needed the back end of the bullpen. Obviously, losing Cordero to be shored up and having another lefty down there like Marshall having a great season that he had last year is going to be huge for us. So, you know, and then Latos in the rotation, I think, you know, being a power arm and a guy who's been healthy, it's going to be nice to have some other guys that maybe I can fly under the radar and, you know, try to win 15 games behind these guys this year, not being at the top of the rotation, and it'll be fun.
I know it's early, finally, but it looks like you guys are having a lot of fun, a lot looser than has been in the past.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously we got a lot of personalities here that have always been really good, but, you know, having Scott Rowland back healthy and having some new pieces of the puzzle to bring a little excitement to spring training. And we feel like we've got a real nice ball club, but you always feel like that in spring training, but this is probably the best ball club we've had since I've been here from top to bottom, just well-rounded and kind of covering all the bases.
All right, man, we're looking forward to March 15th. Get to hear you sing and play again, right?
Oh, that's going to be a good time, yeah. Woodjock with Jake Peavy. I got some boys flying in from out of town and do an old-school Pearl Jam set, so it'll be fun.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Cool. That's Bronson Arroyo, Tom and Chris. We're talking about they're having a big jam out here, and we'll have that for you on Reds Live, the March to opening day. Back to you guys.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Bronson, thank you very much. Meanwhile, the beat goes on for Jeff Francis, making his Reds debut, albeit in a spring training game. But, I mean, nobody has squared up a single pitch so far against Francis. And waving through that strike two pitches Travis Hafner.
Using a lot of and a variety of breaking balls. He's got a big roundhouse curveball that he throws over the top. He's got a tight, little more slider type pitch he just threw in the last offering. I think he's a very interesting sign, and I think he's a guy, Tom, that will be willing to pitch in the background so that he's ready when the Reds need him.
I remember seeing this guy when he was at his best in Colorado, and of course you always have to take with a
they'll bust them all up and they'll take them down to the ballpark and they'll get introduced to one of the players and coaches. And it sounds like just a great experience.
I'm drawing a blank on the fella's name, and I feel terrible because I've only met him one time. It was very briefly when we were on the Reds caravan, but they hired away the guy who ran the best camps of any major league team from the Chicago White Sox.
Tim Rappe.
Thank you very much. And they just brought him in, and he is now the head of all the Reds baseball camps. Good old-fashioned gas right there by Derek Lowe, and he strikes out Votto, 2 away.
The Indians are kind of excited about their pitching staff, mainly because of Lowe. I mean, if he can shake what he did last year where he lost, 17 ball games, and he really finished horribly last year. Looks like he was just simply out of gas. But if he can come back and give them anything like he had been, say, 3 or 4 years ago, Fausto Carmona, or whatever his current name is, quality starter, no doubt about it. Justin Masterson in the starting rotation, and Ubaldo Jimenez.
You know, it's always, I think, so early when you look at guys that do 2 things. That number 1, throw strikes, and number 2 are ground ball pitchers. When guys can do both of those things, and Lowe does both of those things very, very well, you never say they're done yet.
You're right.
You're talking about a guy 2 years ago that won 16 games for the Atlanta Braves. The year before that, he won 15 games. You know, every now and again, you're going to have a hiccup year. But he throws strikes. He has been the premier ground ball pitcher since Brandon Webb went down with an injury a couple of years ago in all of baseball.
Well, you know, and if you're the Indians, you're thinking, we've got to play good defense in the infield because Carmona throws a lot of ground balls, Masterson throws a lot of ground balls, and nobody throws more than Lowe. So you better be able to field the ball a little bit out there.
Off the end of the bat. It'll carry a bit here in the thin air in Phoenix, Arizona, but caught by PA in left. So Lowe allows 1 hit in 2 innings. Cleveland bats in the 5th with the Reds in front 6-1. Cleveland comes to bat here in the top of the 5th inning at Goodyear Ballpark in Goodyear, Arizona. And a pleasure to be joined by the skipper of the Reds, Dusty Baker, down in the dugout. Year number 5, Dusty. Time goes by some days, I'd imagine, a little faster than maybe some other days.
Well, that's true. And there's some days, boy, that were long days, too, in there. But, hey, you know, I'm looking forward to year number 5. And that's kind of what it takes, you know, sometimes, you know, when you're trying to build something, you know, you know, sort of extract some players and then add some other players, and hopefully you come up with the right mix and a winning formula for, you know, a long period of time.
Boy, real improved pitching staff this year. You got Matt Latos to be up towards the top of the rotation. You got a closer in Madsen. You picked up big Sean Marshall. I mean, you got to be pretty fired up about this pitching staff.
Well, I am, and you know, last year, you know, we scored plenty of runs, even though we could have scored some more, and you know, we try to shore up our pitching because, you know, last year we thought we had enough, and it just seems like sometimes you never have enough. and we didn't, quite perform the way that we thought we were. So, went out and, base hit. Bang. Every time I'm on air here, it's like this. But, yeah, we did. And, our guys are in great shape. They have a great frame of mind. The guys are thinking about winning. They're thinking about winning, and we discuss championship almost daily. And, we know we got work to do. It's no easy road, but we feel that, we have the personnel to go a long ways. And, everybody's excited about it.
Dusty, we can sit around and other people, prognosticators that follow baseball, cover baseball, watch a lot of baseball, whatever it might be. And all of us can come up with our things that we feel are keys or important to the Reds being better than they were a year ago, much like 2010. For you as a manager, I mean, what are the one or two things that maybe you look at and say, this is one or two areas where we need to improve?
Well, the main difference, I think, between 2010 and 2011 is that, we didn't get injured very much. Last year we lost Johnny Cueto for a couple months, Homer Bailey for a couple months, Scott Rowland for, probably 4 months.
Arroyo.
Yeah, Arroyo was sick. Wasn't the same. We didn't get the same production on the shortstop we'd gotten the year before. Brandon Jones, was down some, and our left field production was down. So, you chip away, 2 games here, 3 games there. Every month you're talking of a difference of 15, 18 games, which was the difference. So, the main thing we want to do, hopefully, is stay in shape. Keep my frontline players on the field and have more depth, which we've added too. When you watch, a guy like Francis out here, and, we have, some other quality guys, Tomko guys that, that are in the mix, to give us some insurance in case something happens to some of the guys, and they still have an opportunity to make the club.
Sam LeCure now on the mound for the Reds, and that one is swatted down right field, a base hit by Chisenhall, and you heard Dusty Baker throw him out. Kipnis going to not take a chance of running against the arm of Jay Bruce.
Well, that's something else too. We work on, we take pride on, we take pride in our defense, and all the good clubs that are out there, like you try to be as balanced as possible. You want good pitching, you want good offense, you want relative speed, some production off the bench, and you want to be able to stop base runners from running. I mean, this is that's as important as throwing somebody out, because now the double play, is still in order. Imagine if Jay had thrown the ball or wildly, and then the guy goes to third, trail runner goes to second, and next thing you know, that double play ball ends up being a run, and so they start chipping away at your lead. So we take a lot of pride in playing good defense and throwing the ball to the correct base and hopefully to the cutoff man most of the time.
Hey, Dusty, you have already named Johnny Cueto as your opening day starter today. Is he finally ready to make that turn?
Almost. Well, we think so. It's been, what is it, Johnny's 4th year, I think, or 5th year. And yeah, I mean, to me, he has the best quality stuff at this point, consistent quality stuff, and this is what you want out of your number one starter. Not only do you plan to start an opening day, with his ERA the way it was last year, the thing about it is, he's the best candidate to match up, against the Carpenters and match up against, Doc Holliday's and guys that that aren't going to give up probably, 2 to 3 runs, and it gives you an opportunity to win the game. So, you certainly don't want to match up on a daily basis guys with 4.5 or whatever it is, and ERA, and then they're only giving up 2. That's going to equal a loss.
That's not good.
That's not good. So
no.
Yeah, so that's why, we went to the drawing board, and it wasn't that tough a decision, really.
Runners on the corners. Michael Brantley, the batter. 2 men are out. First inning of work for Sam LeCure. Johnny Cueto, the front 2, allowed 1 run. And Jeff Francis retired all 6 batters that he faced. And, Chris was talking a lot about him, Dusty. I mean, that could turn out to be a pretty shrewd sign by the ball club.
Well, it could be. And, you don't know, what could happen, to any of our starters. This guy's a starter in the past. And as it turns out right now, we have probably, 8 starters. And, I was in that situation. I remember when I was coach of the Giants, we had 8, 9 starters. And within a couple months, we were down to like 3 or 4, just through injuries or something that happened. So you never have enough pitching. And, we hope, we get to use these guys. And if not, then, you know, we have a surplus of pitching, which is very rare in baseball.
Well, you used 10 starters last year, Dusty. I'm sure that you'd like to whittle that number down.
Oh, most definitely so. And, you know, you want to use a consistent rotation. So, I mean, so you can, the guys on the team know what to expect, the umpires know what to expect, you know, our catchers know what to expect. And, yeah, you certainly like to whittle that down. But like I said, the key thing is that, I mean, you know, people say it sounds corny, but health is the number one thing that you want. And the healthier you are, the more chances that you have to win, because you're keeping your number one team on the field more than the opposition. And, you know, guys aren't number one or number two for nothing.
Final question from me, Dusty. You know, oftentimes you make a lot of moves during the offseason, and I know that you're a big believer in team chemistry. When you bring in a lot of new guys, what's your feeling of the way those guys have fit into this club in a short amount of time?
Well, that's a very good question. You know, I think they fit in well in a short amount of time. You know, one of the main things, you know, that you try to do, you try to get guys that are winners. I mean, even they might have come from a losing team or organization. You on the other side of the field, you say, hey, that guy is playing winning baseball. You can tell he gets upset when they're losing. And if you bring in winners, winners have no trouble, you know, fitting in, because everybody, you know, has the same goal. And, you know, this winter we brought in some guys that are winners, guys that came from winning. Oh, no. Sorry. Came from winning organizations. And there's that defense again, you guys.
No doubt about it. Dusty, thanks for the time.
Okay.
Good luck through the rest of the spring.
All right, thank you.
6-1 after 4.5 here in Goodyear with the Reds coming up. Jay Bruce to start things when we return. Now on Fox Sports Ohio, make sure to tune in for opening night when the Crew travel to face the Colorado Rapids. Dwight Burgess, Duncan Ogden have the call on Saturday night, 6 o'clock, right here on your new home for Crew soccer. That's very exciting.
Nice stadium up there too. Built one about 12 years ago, 12 or 13 years ago.
It seats over 20,000 fans. It was the first soccer-specific stadium built for a professional soccer team in now the second pro era of American soccer. That's a mouthful. They originally played in the Horseshoe. (6-1) Reds lead. Jay Bruce to be followed by Ryan Ludwig and Drew Stubbs. And the Indians bring in their primary left-handed setup man, coming off a rock-solid 2011, Tony Sipp. Sipp appeared in 69 games for the Indians last year. And, I mean, he is a left-handed specialist. He only threw 62 innings, but gave up just 45 hits. If he has an Achilles heel, he has a hard time occasionally throwing strikes.
Well, they had 3 left-handers that were on the team last year in the bullpen. The Indians did, and they're down to 2 right now. Rafael Perez came into camp and in his first workout strained an oblique muscle, side muscle, and so he's on the shelf temporarily anyway. So Sip and Frank Herman are the 2 guys out of the bullpen from the left side. Of course, Chris Perez is the closer. He had 36 saves last year. Former St. Louis Cardinal. Vinny Pistano, a right-hander in the bullpen. Joe Smith.
So Jay Bruce draws a walk to begin the inning, and let's check in down in the Reds dugout with Jim Day.
Tom, thank you very much. We're with Brandon Phillips, all-star second baseman. How you feeling? How was your offseason?
Offseason was great. You know, feeling good, feeling light, feeling right already.
And the smile is back. All right, last year, towards the latter part of the year, you went into Dusty's office and said, I'd like to be the leadoff hitter. This club needs a leadoff hitter. Looks like going into the season, you're penciled into that spot. How much of a difference is that going to make for you?
Well, honestly, you know, it's a challenge. You know, I love challenges, and I feel good. I trained myself to be a leadoff hitter this offseason, and hopefully I can go up there and have success. And, you know, I feel good, and hopefully the team feels confident with me at the leadoff position, and hopefully I can get things going for the team and try to get some more wins.
Do you have to change your approach at the plate? I know at some point last year you said, I'm going back to the way I used to be. I'm swinging for power, even though I am in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, I have to, you got to change your approach, you know. A lot of people say you don't, but, you know what I'm saying, for you to win and be successful as a team, you have to take, you know, you got to do what's best for the team instead of trying to go out there and do individual things. And so, you know, I'm just going to be myself, get things going, have some swag on the top of the lineup, and get things going.
Some swag on the top of the lineup. We like that. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, honestly. One last question. You've played with a lot of shortstops in your time here with the Reds. It looks like Zach Cozart, it's his job to lose. How's the chemistry between you two?
Oh, it's going awesome, man. I mean, he's a great guy, young kid. He's all about learning, and he's very talkative. We're having a lot of fun. We always playing together. This is the first time I played second base, and he didn't play next to me. So he played in a B game. So I was checking him out. He did pretty good, had some good ABs, and you know, defensive-wise, we're going to be okay. You know, as long as he's healthy and he's on the field, I feel like that the Reds can do a lot of quality things and get some more wins.
All right, you'll have to teach me about what swag means at the top of the lineup. We'll work on that, all right?
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of work to do, man, because the Dockers you got on, it's not popping.
Busted on my Dockers. He's in midseason form, boys. Back up to you.
A lot of work to do, Jim. That's what he said. So I'm just going to quote him regularly for the rest of the year. See that smile out of Brandon Phillips every single day.
I'll tell you what, he was on my leg of the Reds caravan, and I've never been around a Reds player over the last, I don't know, all the years other than maybe Sean Casey, who was as fan friendly on an everyday basis, sincerely fan friendly as is Brandon Phillips.
Chris Heisey batting for the first time. He's up there to bat for Drew Stubbs. Was that Eric Davis making a play down there? Well, now there's a guy that looks like he could still play, doesn't he?
Every year you say the same thing. Been saying it for 15 years.
I asked him about it yesterday. I said, I said the exact same thing. He said, don't be too surprised. I might come back if they need me out in left field. Heisey started, checked his swing, and he went around on the appeal. Well, it seems like the topics that are the most frequently talked about during the offseason, Drew Stubbs, we've been through that a little bit. Who will be the number 5 starter in the rotation? We'll get into that a little bit later. And then the final thing is left field. There are some that feel that Heisey has never been given a chance to play on a regular basis. Some might counter that by saying, while that's true over the course of an entire year, he has been given semi-regular playing time over a 2-3 week stretch. When he got those chances, his numbers weren't nearly as good as they were when he was coming off the bench, which is very hard to figure. Normally it goes the other way. And now Heisey appears to be going into this spring training trying to earn more playing time than Ryan Ludwig. and might be forced to share time out there with Ludwig, depending on how camp goes for both of them.
Well, I think one of the things that explains Heisey's success off the bench is that he's a very good fastball hitter. I mean, he is as quick to the ball on the inner part of the plate as anybody I've seen in a long time. Really gets the bat around. Where they've been able to expose Chris Heisey is breaking balls down and away. I mean, it's the age-old problem that hitters have to contend with. How do you hit the breaking ball?
He jumped all over that one and whacks it on one hop all the way to the wall to the plate, Jay Bruce. So Heisey off the bench, a pinch hit double to drive in a run, giving the Reds a 7-1 lead. And that is Todd Frazier, by the way, who came on to run for Jay Bruce.
Heisey picks on a low fastball right there, and I mean, he just gives it a ride. Gets his foot down, drops the bat head, good solid swing. You know, one of the things you like about Chris Heisey, he's got a little bit of an edge. Not cockiness, but a little bit of a confidence that says, you know what, I wasn't a first-round pick. I was somewhere around the 15th round, but I still think I'm as good as these other guys are. And confidence is half the issue. And he comes out and he works hard at it, and that's the kind of kid you really want to pull for.
Takes off for third and easily beats a throw.
Reds are running.
Well, the idea is to get ready for the season. And Heisey is a guy that's more than capable, if he plays regularly, of stealing 15, 20 bases for you.
Well, that's the trend of baseball. I mean, if you start looking at what the OPS is, you know, on base percentage and slugging for teams over the last 5 years, ever since they began, hey, let's get truthful about it. When they started testing for steroids and human growth hormone and performance enhancing drugs, now all of a sudden, you know, these power numbers have come way down. And as the OPS begins to decrease, you've got to figure out other ways to score runs. And speed, obviously, was once a very big, important part of the game. It kind of went out of vogue. It is coming back.
Corky Miller, a one-hopper, is thrown out, keeping Heisey at third. And now Dioner Navarro, former all-star catcher, two-time all-star. But his numbers offensively have plummeted in each of the last 3 years. So he's trying to, again, much like Jeff Francis, but for very different reasons. Francis was injured. Navarro was not. Try to get things back together. It's hard to believe he's only 28 years old.
Another good sign by Walt Jocketty to bring him into camp. Navarro, you know, may end up down in AAA, depending on what happens with Devin Mesoraco, an injury here or there. You could see him in the big leagues. Of course, they've also got Corky Miller. We saw Corky. Corky's had a nice career of going up and down and up and down. And it's interesting to see how that whole play out down in AAA.
2 strikes on Navarro. Check in real quick downstairs with Jeff Pecoro.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tom. I'm here with Jay Bruce, and a different-looking Jay Bruce. How much have you lost in the offseason? It's amazing.
About 16, 18 pounds, somewhere in there.
And you said it was mostly diet.
Mostly diet. You know, I was a little more dedicated, more regimented this year to my my workouts, but I was also more dedicated to my diet, like I said. And it all helps, you know, it all goes hand in hand, and I just feel a lot better now.
Now, Dusty said losing that weight, you have to get used to your body. It's a different body. You feel like the swing is where you want it to be, and you've also picked up a step or two, huh?
You know, the swing, there's still some work to be done. Obviously, it's early in spring training, but I don't think my weight is, you know, has any bearing on that so far. Now, Dusty's been around a lot, and he's seen a lot of guys, so, I mean, he definitely knows what he's talking about. So we'll see. I'll stay kind of in tune with it and see what I need to do, but it very well may happen, but it might not too. So I feel good. Yeah, I feel a little lighter on my feet, but other than that, no glaring changes for me.
Tell you what, Jay, if today's any indication, looks like you guys are going to run a little bit more.
That's the plan, I hope. You know, we have an athletic team and guys that can play, you know, all facets of the game, and I think that's going to help us, you know, in our goal of winning, you know, the division and obviously winning the World Series.
Thanks, man. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's Jay Bruce, guys. Back to you.
Vic, thank you very much. And thank you, Jay Bruce. Jay has been lifted from the ball game after the leadoff walk he drew here in the 5th inning. 3-2 on Navarro with Heisey at third and 2 men out. Ball 4. So the inning continues for the pinch hitter Henry Rodriguez. If you were with us on the radio side yesterday, we shared a conversation we had with Ken Griffey Sr. And of course, he's been in the Red system in one form or fashion for well over 30 plus years. This was the one guy he talked about more than anybody. Henry Rodriguez, native Venezuelan. The Reds made big news when they signed him. You may remember a number of years ago as a 17-year-old. Very thin. Last year in Bakersfield playing for Ken Griffey Jr., he hit .340 in 58 games and got moved up to Double-A Carolina where he hit over .300. He knocked in 81 runs, had 36 doubles, 30 stolen bases. And that's all he does. Ken Griffey Sr. said he is the best hitter, perhaps, in the Reds' entire organization. And he's a switch hitter. That base hit plates another run. We saw him 2 at-bats yesterday. He had a hit and a walk.
Well, he's a switch hitter. I watched him in the B game today, Tom. He made a real nice play at third base. He can play around the infield. They like him best at second. It's nice to know that the Reds are continuing to bring young players along that are, you know, instead of having all your prospects bunched down there and between A-ball and Double-A, these guys are Major League ready, some of them.
Well, I was amazed, and I just got down here, and I'm going to turn around and leave and then come back for about the last, well, nearly 2 weeks of spring training. But hearing Ken Griffey Sr. talk about the state of the Reds minor league system to back up what you're saying, Chris, and again, you're talking about a guy now who's been around this franchise a long, long time. And he said, look, everybody's talking about all they traded to get Sean Marshall, all the prospects, big-time prospects they gave up to get Matt Latos. He said, I'm telling you, from the lowest level of A-ball to the highest level of minor league baseball, the Reds have not had as many good players as they have right now. Now, of course, you wait and see how it all pans out. That's why I sort of, you know, I don't know how you feel about it, Chris. I sort of always, my eyes go cross-eyed when I hear guys look at you in the eye and say, man, you guys gave up a lot to get Latos. And I'll say, okay, well, maybe they did. But nobody knows that because a lot of those guys haven't done it in the big leagues yet. So we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
They might be right, but they might not be right.
Well, once you make the trade, I think you have to cut ties with those guys. You know, we all like Yonder Alonso.
Yep.
Love the guy as a young man, as a hard worker. But I'm not. I mean, I'll watch what Yonder Alonso does, but I care more now what Matt Latos does. He's my guy now. He's on my team, and I want to see Matt Latos perform. And I hope those other guys do well over there in San Diego, and Travis Wood does well in Chicago, and so on and so forth. I hope that all works out great for them. But I want the guys on the Reds that they traded for to be the guys that begin to excel so that they take the forefront. And I think that's the way you've got to approach something like that.
So we have our first My Guy claim of the year.
You know,
Matt
it didn't
Latos
take long,
is now
did it?
your guy.
Didn't
That's a
take
good
long.
one to have.
Yeah. A couple of years ago it was Joey Votto.
No. A couple of years ago it was Joe Kerrigan. Was your guy. Two on, two in, two out. 2-2 pitch. Low, and we brought up earlier, the one thorn in the side for Sip in his career has been frequent battles with getting the ball over the plate. He's walked 2 here in the inning. And now 3-2 on Giannis. Miguel Cairo waits on deck. Third walk of the inning.
Well, I'm not making any excuses for Tony Sip, but the chances are during the regular season he will not be used and face so many right-handers. I mean, he's a left-handed specialist that comes in here and come in and pitch a whole inning, and obviously struggling here at the beginning of camp.
Scott Radinsky is the new pitching coach for the Cleveland Indians. Our old buddy Tim Belcher had that job for a couple of years and has decided to move back up into the front office.
And our old buddy Carl Willis, who had that job before Tim Belcher did, now the pitching coach with Eric Wedge in Seattle. He was there when the Mariners came over here at 10 a.m. to have that league game back on one of the minor league fields. Good to see old Carl Willis again.
Good guy. Well, they're loaded for Miguel Cairo. Bats for Joey Votto. Votto went 1 for 3 today. Had a 2-run single in the 5-run second inning. Reds leading 8-1. Ball 1. In the 5-run second, the Reds sent 9 men to the plate. Cairo, the 8th batter, here in a 2-run 5th. Off the end of the bat. Brantley, the call, and the catch, and the inning is over. Reds score twice. We move to the 6th. All Cincinnati in good years today. Great American Ballpark. After church, cheer on the Reds. Take on the Marlins Sunday, April 8th at half price with the Meyer family deal. When one member of the family purchases a full price ticket, they'll get the option to buy 3 additional tickets at half price. Plus, the first 8,000 kids 14 and younger get a Kids Easter tin thanks to Meyer. 513-381-REDS for tickets or visit reds.com. Sam LeCure is still on the mound. Reds have made a number of changes defensively. We'll try to catch up with it as we move along. There's Todd Frazier, looks like, out in right field. We know Chris Heisey is now in center field, and that appears to be out in left field Willie Harris. On the infield, they have Chris Negron down at third base. Rodriguez stays in the game at second base. Cairo at first, and Porky Miller behind the plate. Todd Frazier continues to show off his versatility. I mean, you can play him anywhere in the infield.
I think he ought to relish the opportunity to be moved around everywhere, to show the Reds that he can play outfield, infield, anywhere around. I mean, no player ever wants to get the tag of being a utility player when in your heart you really feel like you can still be a starter at a certain position. But, you know, hey, you give a guy a choice. Do you want to be sitting on the bench and be a utility player in the major leagues, or you want to be playing every day down in the minor leagues? And unless you're an up-and-coming prospect, you'll take that big league meal money any day.
Sam LeCure on for his second inning of work. He allowed a couple of hits, no runs in the 5th, and misses to Chu low. 2-1. Nice article in the newspaper last Sunday about Sam LeCure, a guy who had to pitch his way onto the big league staff each of the last 2 years, and finally settled into that bullpen role last year and had a very solid season.
He did have a solid season, but you know, for a guy like Sam LeCure, when you're the last pitcher on the staff, if you're number 11 or number 12, there's always going to be somebody knocking on your door trying to take your job. And every year you come into camp and you see more and more great arms that show up. This year they've got some arms down there that are very, very impressive. I mean, it's still early on. This is only the third game. But I'll tell you one kid that we saw throw batting practice the other day, Andrew Brackman. He'll be throwing in a game tomorrow. Former Boulder grad, 6'10" or 6'11".
Number one pick by the Yankees.
Wow, was he throwing the ball well last time I saw him. I mean, really getting it up there. And you're always trying to upgrade. And what you do is you upgrade at that position, which is where you're weakest. And that's why it's always going to be a struggle for a guy like Sam LeCure to hold on to that job, because that's the one that's in flux.
Now, for those that forget, Andrew Brackman, one of the great pitchers in the history of high school baseball in the city of Cincinnati at Moeller High School, pitched them to a state championship, and then went as a basketball and baseball player to North Carolina State University. Played basketball for 2 years, gave it up, was a first-round draft pick by the Yankees, and has had a lot of trouble with injuries and throwing strikes. And now back with his hometown team, trying to get to the big league. Ball one outside of Carlos Santana.
You know, anytime you get a guy like Brackman who is that large, I mean, he's 6'11". So anytime a big, tall pitcher like that begins to try to get his delivery under control, sometimes it takes them longer. He's 26 years old now, Brackman is. I remember when Randy Johnson was in camp with the Montreal Expos early in his 20s. Nobody wanted to take batting practice off the guy.
That ball driven into deep left center field. Harris to the track, to the wall. Goodbye. A hit, a walk, and a bomb. Makes it an 8-4 game as Santana gets his first hit of the afternoon.
And to follow up that story on Randy Johnson, it wasn't until he got to be 25 or 26, really calmed his delivery down, that was he able to throw strikes on a consistent basis and then making him one of the best pitchers in history. Sanders got that ball up, and that is a powerful hitter there in Santana.
Swinging a foul ball back out of play. Well, you look at a guy like Santana, and to think he was such a huge prospect for the Dodgers, and that the Dodgers traded Santana to get Casey Blake. Casey Blake's a nice player. He's had a good career. But my, oh my.
Well, that was it. Wasn't that a mid-season trade?
Yeah, it was.
That, you know, you're trying to fill a hole, and that's where it always is kind of unfair. You look back on that trade and say, how can you be the GM to make that deal, right? But you needed that piece at the time. They needed Blake to play third base, to shore up an infield, and they had a couple of nice years over there at LA. But I think the Indians, if they're rebuilding, I'm certainly glad. I think they're happy that they ended up with Santana, no doubt.
Santana has a little ways to go. I mean, he just turned 25. But he did hit 27 home runs, knocked in over 70 runs. He needs to improve his eye of the strike zone. He swings and misses a lot. I guess the point I'm making, and I'm not trying to redo the trade, but I mean, you know, you look back on where the Dodgers were at the time. That's a hard spot to fill, that catcher spot, to have a guy that you can build maybe a franchise around.
Yeah, that's true, but there are some that say that the long-term position for Santana will be first base.
Casey Kochman has that position right now for the Indians. 3-0. Reds have action down in their bullpen. Available today to pitch out of the bullpen. We've already seen, obviously, Cueto. We've seen Francis LeCure.
That's Chad Reineke.
We brought up the name Brackman a minute ago. He is scheduled to make his Reds debut here today in this game. So we'll look forward to seeing him. 3-1 to count on Kochman. Fouled away. Well, that Moeller baseball program, of course, for forever and a day, you talked about the football program when Jerry Faust was there. But man, have they had some baseball players come rolling through there. Barry Larkin, Ken Griffey Jr., Buddy Bell, David Bell. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Two away in the inning. Does that bother you when you hear about all the greats that come out of Moeller High, you being a big rival?
No, absolutely
with the
not.
St. X Bombers?
Always wanted to see the best team Moeller could put on the field. They did their best to keep it close. That was back in the day now. Back in the days of Lenny Matusik, another major leaguer that went through Moeller. You know, it's not only Moeller, but it's the feeder systems, it's the amateur baseball overall in Cincinnati, how good it is, how so many coaches and fathers are dedicated, you know, to going out there and dragging the baseball fields and getting them ready after a rainy evening for a Saturday afternoon. And you still see it everywhere. And it's one of the best amateur baseball hotbeds in all of America, despite the fact that, you know, you normally have miserable springs to play baseball in compared to, you know, being down here, for instance. You get just a wealth of talent coming out of Cincinnati.
Well, it really is amazing. And the last time the story was done, at least the last time I saw it, and I'm sure it's changed over the last 5 years, but when USA Today did the story 5 years ago, only Tampa, Florida, and this, the caveat here is per capita now. I mean, you're not going to compare a city like Cincinnati to a Los Angeles, California. But per capita, Cincinnati had produced more major league players than all cities in the United States except for Tampa, Florida. That's a staggering statistic.
Staggering.
Tell you what else is staggering. What I didn't know until this year, the NFL did a study. Now think about this. This is even more mind-boggling. In the NFL this year, the city with the fourth most players in the NFL, Cincinnati, Ohio. And that doesn't include the regions that are outside and around Cincinnati, but you're talking about being behind Miami, Florida, Dallas, Texas. Pretty amazing. On the ground, and that'll end the inning. A 3-run home run by Santana. Middle of the sixth. Reds still with an 8-4 lead.
The Johnsons, right?
Yeah.
Which house is yours?
The one with the Silverado up front.
On home ice tomorrow night against the Phoenix Coyotes. Ray Crawford brings you all the pregame info you need at 6:30. And join the gang for face-off at 7. Blue Jackets and Coyotes tomorrow night right here on Fox Sports Ohio. I think some of the guys went to the Blue Jackets and Coyotes game out here a few days ago, right?
I think you're right about that.
And Columbus got the win. Well, here we go. This is what a scorecard looks like in the dugout. And ours is a lot uglier than that. So you have Pereira. Let's stay with that because this is the easiest way for us to get the changes. Diaz came on as a pinch runner. Ryan Spilborghs now takes over in right field. And Dan Wheeler, guy's been around a long time, takes over on the mound. We'll bring you up to date on some of the other changes in a moment. Chris Negron, the batter. We'll just give you the changes around the Cleveland infield. Jason Donald at third. Juan Diaz at short. Cord Phelps at second. Russ Kanzler now at first. Base hit left field.
Negron's a nice player. He's a guy, Tom, that if you've got the necessity of needing a shortstop, you think that he can play and fill in up here at the major league level. If somebody falters, if Giannis or Cozart are injured, you need another shortstop down there, the call might go to Chris Negron.
Todd Frazier, the batter, with a runner at first and nobody out. Hit hard into left field. And that's up against the wall. Negron on his way to third, and Frazier in with a double.
He's hit the ball well already early in camp, and he knows he's got to do that. Hit a home run in the exhibition game, I think, the first day. Hit a home run in the inter-squad game, just a 2-inning game that they played before the first exhibition game, and he just lets it rip. Inside fastball, letter high, see ya. Almost out of here. Guy plays with a lot of enthusiasm, doesn't he?
Well, it's not that you ever root against anybody, by and large. But there are a lot of guys you find yourself especially rooting for. Frazier's an easy guy to root for.
Yeah.
Here's another guy trying to earn a spot on the Reds roster, and that's Willie Harris. He helped himself yesterday, had a 2-run single into right field.
You like his intro song? I'm a Believer by the Monkees.
Nice.
Now, there's a guy trying to make the ball club, maybe sending a message, a little subliminal message to Dusty Baker. I'm a believer, Dusty. Are you?
Of course, a sad passing. The news of Davy Jones just died recently, lead singer of the Monkees. I know you were a big Monkees fan.
I was. Had their albums. Knew every word to every song.
Daydream Believer, and I've heard you singing that around the press box before. Daydream Believer.
Yeah. Sometimes it happens to me up here in the booth to you.
Runners at second and third with nobody out. 1-1 on Willie Harris. Started 2 and did not go around. 2 balls and a strike. Ezequiel Cabrera takes over in center field, and we told you Ryan Spilborghs, the former Rocky, is now in right. Well, these games get ugly quick, at least on the old scorecard with all the changes. Willie Harris has done it again. I'm a believer. He's trying to make somebody a believer. That's back-to-back base hits, back-to-back days driving in a pair of runs for Willie Harris.
Yeah, it's also back-to-back games in the same day for Willie Harris. He was one of those guys penciled in the lineup in the B game that started at 10 o'clock this morning. When you're trying to earn a spot on the squad, you're not at all complaining about double duty.
And Harris, another guy, we talked about the versatility of Frazier. Harris is similar to Frazier in that regard. He can play infield and outfield. Well, we understand that Jim Day is standing by with a member of the Reds starting rotation this upcoming season. Jimbo?
Well, actually, it's not JD.
I'm
it's
sorry,
Jeff.
Jeff.
That's
I
all right.
apologize.
Well, Tom, we had to have a change up here because a quick question for you guys. Of qualifying pitchers on the Red staff, who won the Reds' Triple Crown for pitchers last year? Do you know the answer
Mike
to that?
Leake?
You're exactly right. The man standing next to me, Mike Leake. And, Mike, congratulations on that, but I think we might have a problem here in the broadcast booth, the fact that you will not go on with Jim Day.
No, I mean, I haven't liked him since day one, so I got to stick by my man Jeff Picoro.
You know, Tommy, he said every game he pitched well, and I interviewed him after the game. He was happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good when I'm talking to you after a game. It's not good when I'm talking to Jeff. I mean,
Jim. He's Jim. I'm Jeff.
Oh, I like Jeff better. That's why I have Jeff in my head. But yeah, it's always nice when we're talking at the end of a game.
All right, well, Mike, let's talk series for 1 second here. Raised your innings last year to almost 170. 30 more this year would get you 200 innings. You talked about that. Is that a goal for you when the season starts each year?
Yeah, it's one of the goals. It's not my main goal, but it's always a goal to go up 30 more innings every year, and hopefully this year I'll go even more than 200.
You got to be excited about the additions to this pitching staff, too. I don't know if it takes pressure off of you, but bringing in a Matt Latos and bringing in Marshall and Madsen on the back end, I mean, it's got to give you confidence as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, my plan every outing is to only use 2 of the guys that we got, and I mean, it definitely helps adding another guy out there that has been consistent so far for his career, and hopefully he can continue that for us.
Some people might think this is a strange question, but how has your body matured now and getting used to the workload of playing in Major League Baseball?
The first year, you don't know what to expect, but it doesn't really take that much. I mean, it actually takes more out of you than you think, because spring training, you're standing around, you're locking your back up, you're locking everything up, so it's kind of reverse what you train for, to be honest. But I mean, nice. Yeah. Anyway, but it's kind of you train so long just to get to where you are. Like, you work hard, you gather your strength, and then you just stand around for a month. But I mean, it's definitely a learning process throughout your career. I mean, I'm still learning even now.
This seems to be a much looser bunch, hence the hat on the head and things like that. It looks like this team is having a lot of fun, although it is early in spring.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some pranks going on, but I mean, I guess that's number one right there. So whoever that was is in for a beating. But I like the team so far. I think the additions, they're here to win, and they're here for fresh starts. I mean, not that they needed fresh starts, who they were, but I think it'll be a good coming for a little while.
And finally, a lot of optimism from the front office on down this year. Is that carried through the clubhouse too?
Yeah, I mean, once you see the attitude of these guys and how they're here to do something special, it's refreshing to see, and refreshing that it could take us someplace very special.
All right, can we just, Jim, can we just shake hands and be friends now for the rest of spring? 'Cause it's going to be a long year. You're going to have to talk to him on the road.
We'll try next year.
All right, Tom, I'm trying to do my best. Chris, back to you guys.
All right. Well, we'll find out how it goes. I mean, what happens all of a sudden if he has a little shaky start to the year and Picoro's standing down there, Chris? Well, then what?
Well, Picker's no dummy. He picks those guys that have good games, and then he goes to interview them. He doesn't go after these guys after they've had a bad game or ask any of the tough questions. So, hey, I think that's a veteran broadcaster's move.
Corky Miller puts a charge into one. And a 2-run home run for Corky Miller.
Under the berm, over the bullpen, and into the grass out there for Corky.
Guy just keeps on going, doesn't he? It's amazing.
Tell you what, he has been responsible for the advancement of a lot of the minor league pitchers getting major league ready during his tenure down there in Louisville. He handles pitchers so well. He knows that, the only time he's going to get called up to the major league is as a backup. If somebody's injured, he's going to fill in here and there. He's had parts of seasons with a whole bunch of different major league teams. I don't know if he's ever had 2 full seasons in a row in his major league career.
Chris,
what a great guy to have.
I was getting ready to ask you if you had to take a guess, and I'm not throwing you on a spot here, but to think that Corky Miller started playing professional baseball in 1998. Okay, that was the first year they started playing baseball at the big league level right down the road here in Phoenix. So it's been a while now, right? 98. How many major league games do you think he's played in?
Since 98, probably less than 250.
199. Wow. And you're talking about a guy that is playing in what now, his 14th professional season, and he's barely played over 1 full year of Major League Baseball.
They have a list on his very front page of his Major League service time. All right. Right at 4 years. Starting in 1998, professional baseball. That's a guy that's hanging in there.
No doubt about it. I find those guys to be some of the most fascinating people that we meet in the game. You know, every time, Chris, we get out and we're around town, and we both live in greater Cincinnati, northern Kentucky during the wintertime, and, you'll get asked, hey, what kind of guy is Votto? What kind of guy is Phillips? Naturally, those are the guys that people want to talk about. I find guys like this guy to really be amazing stories. Year after year. He's coming here to camp this year again and knows he is not going to make, barring an injury, the Major League club. In fact, he knows he's not going to probably start for the AAA team going into this year. And yet he busts his tail to stay in great shape all winter long to get ready for another year of catching. And in the minor leagues, that means warming up pitchers in the bullpen. How many pitches are in the dirt that come up and clip you in the toe and maybe break a toe? All of a sudden come up, get you in the elbow, foul tip off the forearm, another year.
Well, it's either that or being a double in a Jack Black movie.
You're right. You're right. We went through this.
I thought he was great in Nacho Grande. The story about the wrestler had the big Fu Manchu just like that.
Corky Miller.
Now, there's a mustache that ought to have its own website.
Well, that's the difference between being in your late 30s and being in your 20s. Corky doesn't have one. Sam LeCure does.
Yeah.
Now, there's a mustache.
I think that's a paste-on mustache, though.
You do?
Yeah, I'm going to grab it and tug on it and see what happens.
Well, here's Henry Rodriguez. We brought up his name earlier, and all he did was step up there and whack one into left field.
Now, that was right-handed. Here he is turned around to hit left-handed.
I tell you, he just catches your eye yesterday watching it from the left side. And then I asked Freddie Benavidez about him this morning, Reds minor league coordinator, and he said, man, there's some guys that just stand out. When you watch them only 1 or 2 at-bats. And Rodriguez had that look about him when we saw him from the left side yesterday. He rolled over that and chased the pitch away. They will throw him out, and that'll end the inning. So the Reds come up with 3 more. 2-run home runs. 4 more, I beg your pardon. 2 of them. 1 swing of the bat from Corky Miller. And the Reds lead 12-4. Get your tickets now to see the Reds take on the Cardinals at Great American Ballpark. Be one of the first 7,000 fans April 9, 10, or 11. That's a Monday, Tuesday night, Wednesday afternoon. And get a Reds 2012 magnetic schedule and card magnet featuring All-Star Brandon Phillips, presented by PNC Bank. All by phone. Visit Reds.com or select Kroger locations. Well, the Reds are going to go to their bullpen once again. Got a taste of the big leagues last year. Chad Reineke, and he will take over for Sam LeCure, who went a couple of innings, allowed the 3-run home run to Carlos Santana. Reds President of Baseball Operations and General Manager Walt Jocketty kind enough to join us here in the booth today. And well, Walter, our first official hello here, spring training 2012. You've been out a couple of weeks now. How's everything?
Everything's great, and glad to have you guys here. Great game to show back home to our fans, and it's always nice to do well when you're televising a game back home.
And we're getting to see about every player out there too.
Yeah, we are, and I know it's got to be fun for the fans. I don't know what the weather's like back home, but it can't be as
cold
good as
today.
here. Yeah,
it's cold
today.
Be able
to watch a nice, warm spring training game. I know my daughter Ashley's back there watching this.
Hey, now, Walt, you come down here to spring training. First thing people ask you is, hey, how was your winter? No matter who you are, they ask you, how was your winter? Now, when somebody asks you, how was your winter? What do you tell them?
It's great.
Yeah, sure was.
Busy. But and it was fun. We had a we had a good time. Yeah, it had a good time. It's always fun when you have things you have to do, and we attacked it right away. In October, we had meetings and kind of set a plan that what we wanted to do, and pitching was the number one priority, and to improve our rotation. And that was the first thing we attacked was going after Latos, and then we went to work on the bullpen with Marshall and then Madsen. So. And all along we were trying to sign Cordero back, and it turns out Madsen was available when we still were talking in January, and we were able to get it done. And that I think is going to be a great asset for us.
And then, of course, you went out and got a guy you're very familiar with as well, in Ryan Ludwig.
Right, and Luddy, I think is going to once he kind of settles in, and he feels, I think he feels a little like I think we saw it with Marshall in his first game, and Latos maybe the same way. I think these guys, when they first come to a new club, they want to impress everybody so much, and they really press hard. And so I think once all these guys get settled in, you're going to see some great baseball. And Ludwig is a guy that I think he's highly motivated to have a great year. He's had some good years in the past, and I think he wants to prove that the last year or so is not indicative of his career, but I think he's still young enough where he could play for a number of years yet.
Well, let's revisit what went up to the trade for Matt Latos. I mean, you've got a group of advisors and scouts. You sit around and you're looking at players, and you're going back and forth with the team that you're going to make a trade with, and you probably ask all your guys, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And in that particular trade, it probably wasn't a unanimous thing. Did it all come right down to you and say, all right, I guess I'm the one that's going to have to make this call?
Well, that's generally the way it is. Yeah, I mean, I like to engage all my people to participate in the decision process and how we put together a plan. And I think it's important that you do that so that they feel like they're a part of the process. And I think that process went where we really looked at a lot of different things. We made a list of about 5 or 6 guys that we thought were top of the rotation type of starters, and looked at their age, their contract status, and how they would pitch in our ballpark and how they've pitched, and kind of made a projection. And really, Latos was one of those guys that really was at the top in every category. And the fact we were able to get a 23-year-old starting pitcher who was a top of the rotation guy and could eventually be a number 1 or whatever, and still have, be a part of your club for a long time was important. So, because we did give up some talent, no question about it, but we felt that we had the depth in our organization where we could afford to do that now, because it's so hard to get a pitcher of that caliber in your organization, and so it was a very, very tough decision. But I think there were probably some people that went back and forth on it, but in the end, I think the consensus was you can't find a starting pitcher like Latos that available. So.
Well, and under control economically and all those kinds of things. I mean, you know, you can find a guy like Matt Lato. There aren't many of them, but you can find him instead of paying him 12 or 15 or $18 million as a free agent.
Right. And we can't afford to do that. So that's why, you know, the plan that we've put into play here over the last few years, and we'll continue to do it, is we've had great support from ownership as we've really invested a lot in our player development, scouting, and international. And we sign our players, develop them, and then you have to make decisions on who you keep and who you're able to trade to fill the holes that you have with your club. And we're able to do that with Latos and with Marshall, and then we're in a position where we could sign Madsen. Plus, we get some draft picks, extra draft picks this year for Hernandez and Cordero. So, really, it's kind of it was a very good winter so far. You know, and we'll see how it plays out during the year. But I think we're much improved.
You know, well, when Chris and I can sit around and talk about areas, you know, we think in 2012, I asked Dusty the same thing about areas that he looks at in 2012. Health was the #1 thing for him. He felt like that was a big difference between 2010 and 2011. I think anybody that follows the Reds would wholeheartedly agree. Taking away health, since he's already spoken to that a little bit, is there anything else that, from your perspective, you say, you know what, one area where I'd really like to see us improve because it enhances our chances of winning more games is?
Well, I think it was the pitching, and I think we've addressed that. I think we needed to have better starting pitching, and at this point, you know, with what we've done and looking at going into the season, I think it's just you've got to, and so far, you know, knock on wood, what I've seen in camp, we've had a great attitude. Guys are working hard. I think they're highly motivated to get back to the postseason. And you see the effort that they put in this offseason, guys like Jay Bruce and with Chapman, Bailey, Stubbs, those guys, they really put a strong effort into getting ready for spring training.
Fall in the center field, and that will load the bases for the Indians with 1 out. Reds leading here 12-4.
So I would say, you know, the main thing is performance. Guys have to perform up to their ability, and if guys do that, health is certainly a big factor because of guys like Roland and Cozart that are coming back from surgeries. But if guys perform like they're capable of performing, we're going to have a fun year.
How is Scott Roland? I mean, I know he had surgery. He's had it on his arm several times, his non-throwing arm. What have you seen out of Scott so far?
I've seen, again, another guy who is very motivated, and I think he feels terrific. And because he doesn't hide it too well if he's not. And he is, I think he has better range of motion with his left shoulder. I think he's got better strength, and I think he just feels, you can see the at-bats he's taken this spring. He's had some very good at-bats. He's been able to get some balls he couldn't last year. So I think right now he feels very good, and hopefully that he continues like that the rest of the year.
You're asked about it all the time. I was on the Caravan with you again. We're regulars going out on the Caravan year after year, Walt. And you know, I don't even like asking about it because, quite honestly, I mean, I'm sure you're at a point in time. You generally like to keep things under the radar, I think, on multiple levels, as do the people that work with you and around you, as this fly ball will bring in a run from third to make it a 12-5 game. And they may double up the runner. Wow. That's hard to believe. The run does count. PA touched the plate before they doubled off the runner at second base. Where was he going?
I have no idea. That's not good picture right there. We'll pick this up when we come back.
You don't mind. You want to throw it to break? Give us the score.
We were going into the bottom of the 7th inning, 12-5 Cincinnati. We'll be right back.
Nice. Thank you. Subscribe to MLB.TV Premium today and get over 150 select spring training games with no blackouts and every regular season game live or on demand on your favorite devices. Visit Reds.com for more details. Well, if you love baseball, that is a great package to subscribe to. Maybe you're up late one night and you can check out some of the games out west. If you're out of town and you're not getting Reds baseball, you can dial in wherever you are. Walt Jocketty kind enough to stop by, and Walt, you knew where I was going before I even asked about it. As Zach McAllister takes over on the mound, you were asked about it ad nauseum, I'm sure, and I'll be just another on that list. Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips more so from an urgency standpoint, I guess, just because his contract's up at the end of the year. That ball driven by D.D. Gregorius into deep right center field, and that's off the wall. It's a very talked about young player here in the Reds minor league system, Gregorius. During spring training, he's opened a lot of eyes, I'm sure yours included.
Yeah, he's an exciting player. He's a live body, very athletic, and it's we saw him make a great play at second base today earlier, and he's played short, and I'll tell you, he's going to be fun to watch. But to answer your question, we kind of had a plan going into spring training. When we traded for Sean Marshall, we traded him with the idea that I talked to his agent right away and told him that we want to get him signed to an extension, because you're bringing a new guy in the organization who really doesn't know the organization, and you want to make sure that we keep him around, because again, we gave up a few guys for him, and so we got that done very quickly and without a lot of heartburn, so to speak. And so we're happy to get that done and put to bed. Now we've got both Phillips and Votto, and possibly Madsen too, if we can. So we've looked at it. We've looked at one of the things we've tried to do is look at our long-term financial health of the organization, where we project the revenues to be, where we project our payroll to be, and then try to put together a plan for all these guys. And both agents for Joey and Brandon will be coming here to Arizona sometime in the next couple of weeks, and we'll hope to try and resume talks with them. As you said, Brandon is probably a little more critical because he's free at the end of the year, but so we're going to do our best. And I sat down with Brandon a week or so ago and told him where we were on it, and that we were going to take another run at it and try and get it done. We tried at the winter meetings, but we weren't really in a position at that point to give it our best effort, because we weren't sure where things were heading until we had the club put together, which we now have, and we can attack it again and see where we go. But we will make every effort we can to sign him and also Joey.
Well, and not talking about any specific player, but as a general manager, and you look at the contracts that were given out to Albert Pujols and Prince Fielder, not in terms of money, but in terms of the length of the contract, 9 years. What is that? What do you think about that when you're thinking, oh, my goodness, now they're going to – my guys who are potential free agents coming due, they're going to be looking at those as examples. Where does that put you?
Well, it makes it very difficult, being a market size that we have, to try and compete with what clubs are doing in other cities. And the Pujols contract, I think it's a long time, it's a lot of money, but Albert was kind of in a class of his own. I don't think anybody would dispute that. Fielder, I don't know. It just that one developed quickly, and that may affect us more so, but in a discussion with Joey. But you have to factor all that stuff in, and hopefully, we can work out some kind of a deal that will work for us as well as Joey.
And it would obviously help if the Reds get off to a big start this year and start putting lots of fannies in the seats, because that makes all the difference in the world. We talked about it at length on the Caravan. I'm never going to dare try to tell somebody how to spend their money, because I don't want anybody telling me how to spend my money. But having said all that, it is a reality that a team generally, or a business generally, can afford to do more things if they have more income that's coming in.
There's no question about it. It is important to have fans come out and see our games, and because that's where we generate most of our revenue. And I think we're going to have a good product for people to come out. An exciting team to watch, and good pitching, good defense, and you know, if today's any indication of our offense, it's going to be a fun team to watch. So I think, you know, plus we have when the fans come out to the ballpark, you know, we play well on the field, which we should most of the year. They also have a great experience there. I mean, it's a really fun ballpark to come to, and a lot of great things to do, and a lot of great food and so forth. And it's, you know, I know it's tough for the entertainment dollar these days, but you can't. I used to always say you can't be fun at the old ball yard.
That's exactly right. And it's still by far and away the most affordable game there is out there. I mean, it's not even remotely close about that.
Right. And, you know, with the things that are happening downtown now around the stadium with the Banks project and the new restaurants and so forth down there's a lot of fun things to do, you know, before and after the game.
You're not lying.
It's, you know, a lot of great things are happening.
2-2 the count on Negron. And he looks at strike three, and they're 2 away in the inning.
Walt, you made a change to the coaching staff this year. You took Mac Jenkins, who was the minor league pitching coordinator for a long, long time with the Reds, and made him an assistant pitching coach. He's going to be traveling with the major league team. What's the purpose behind that, and what will be his duties?
Well, I think the main thing was to, you know, Brian Price does an excellent job as a pitching coach, and he is so detail oriented that, you know, I felt if we could get him some help. You know, we had Mac up in September, and I saw the chemistry between the two and how well they worked together. And I talked to Brian about it, and he liked the idea. And so I think basically it's going to be a guy that Brian can have him help with some of the pitchers. You know, Mac has seen all these guys. He's helped develop all the young guys that come up through the organization. He's excellent on pitching and so forth. And I think it'll just be a great guy for Brian to bounce things off of and ideas and so forth, because it's, you know, pitching to me is so very, very important that you know, we want to be able to do all we can to improve it, and I think Mac's a great addition to our staff.
You know, Walt, that gives you 2 pitching coaches. There are a lot of teams out there that now have 2 hitting coaches.
Right.
So it's more of a trend than just what's happening here with the Reds.
No, there's, you know, a lot of clubs have several additional coaches, hitting, pitching. They have administrative coaches, advanced coaches. We're a small market club. We're slowly growing.
Walter, thanks for the time today. What a great offseason. I know everybody is so excited back at home. And a good game today. Reds in front as we go to the 8-12-5, our score.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Cleveland comes to bat in the top half of the 8th inning with the Reds in front by a count of 12-5. Chad Reineke still on the mound for the Reds. All right, Chris, we've been talking all day long about multiple things in and around the ball club, minor league system as well. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty as that ball is in the air and out of play. The keys, as we see them, to the 2012 season, and let's start with something you touched on earlier, Scott Rowland.
Well, even Walt Jocketty said it right away. I mean, the health of Scott Rowland is really right at the front of everybody's concern. I mean, he's had another shoulder surgery on his non-throwing arm. I don't know whether it's number 4 or number 5. He had it in the off. He didn't have it in the off season. He had it last season. Well, you remember back when September came around, he was out there then fielding ground balls, doing some baseball stuff. So, he's had a full winter to recover from that, do rehab, and he comes in here and he tells you and me and everybody that'll listen that he feels like he's got a better range of motion and so on. So, I think it's really important to get him on the field. He only gave you 5 home runs. What did he play in 40 or 50 games last year? You need 120 to 130 games out of Rowland. Now, that's what they're banking on. I think that's really key.
Winning percentage with Rowland since he came to the club is .571 when he's in the lineup. When he's not, winning percentage 45%.
Yeah.
End of story. All right, let's move on to the next topic. 2-2 the count on Michael Hernandez. Reineke in his second inning, and the Reds beating up Cleveland 12-5 here today. We're hoping to see Andrew Brackman maybe in the ninth. Young guns up the middle.
Well, your strength is up the middle. Catcher, shortstop, second base, and center field. Well, not so young there between Brandon Phillips, who's 30 or 30 plus at second base, but Devin Mesoraco and Zach Kozak.
Look at this. This is what we heard about Gregorius. And this is what has opened so many eyes and has drawn just rave reviews from those that are watching this young man from Curacao play shortstop.